Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video we have a very important update on Bitcoin, probably one of the most important updates that we've seen in the last couple of months, because as you guys can see here, over the last couple of days, Bitcoin has gone absolutely parabolic, and last night Bitcoin ran all the way up to a recent high, and indeed a yearly high for 2019, of $5,800. Just a couple of hours ago we dropped off, and we're continuing to move to the upside here over these last 2 hourly candlesticks, and clearly the technical analysis that I was discussing, the bearish technicals that we were looking at, clearly those aren't what are in control of the market. The hype from the bulls and the buyers and the people that are looking forward to the next bull market, they are the ones that are in control of the market. And clearly Bitcoin, maybe not clearly, but it certainly seems that Bitcoin could be about to enter a new bull market here in just the next week or so, guys. We're sitting right below $6,000. We've already seen a lot of the confirmations that I like to see before declaring that a bull market has started. The last one that I want to see is Bitcoin running to and breaking through $6,000. Guys, it's very possible that a Bitcoin bull market will be forming within the next week, or almost definitely within May, depending on how this rally plays out. So we're going to be discussing all of that and more in today's video, guys. This is a very important video, and this is a very important update on Bitcoin, so do go ahead and watch to the end. If you enjoyed today's video, definitely consider dropping a like and hitting that subscribe button. We do technical analysis every single day here on the Crypto Jeb YouTube channel. So without much further ado, let's go ahead and get right on into it, guys. Bitcoin currently finds itself trading around $5,735. And as we can see, just a couple of days ago, back over here on the 25th of April, Bitcoin was actually trading around $5,500 before it fell off the metaphorical cliff, all the way down to $5,000 flat before it bounced back up and started trading sideways. From there, we entered this ascending triangle consolidation pennant. I know it's a mouthful, but that's what it is. Bitcoin entered an ascending triangle consolidation pennant, and from there, we expected that Bitcoin would actually break bearish. That's what I called. I said that Bitcoin was more than likely going to break bearish out of this because this is a continuation pattern. Many of the technicals on the longer-term time frames are saying that Bitcoin should crash here. Clearly, that's not what happened. Bitcoin broke bullish, and over these last couple of days, I've been hesitant to say what I think Bitcoin is going to do because I honestly thought that there was a decent chance that since Bitcoin broke bullish out of this ascending triangle pattern, that Bitcoin could come up here, and if it could get through some important resistance, something like this could happen. So even though many of the technicals are pointing bearish for Bitcoin, perhaps they're just going to have to wait their turn, because one thing you have to keep in mind with your technical analysis is, one, that sometimes you'll be wrong, and when you're wrong, you have to openly admit it. Clearly, it certainly seems at the moment anyway that I was wrong about Bitcoin having to crash before the next bull market starts. Maybe that doesn't have to happen. Maybe it will. At this point, it doesn't look like that's what's going to happen. And the second thing that you need to be careful with in your technical analysis is knowing when to ignore it. Now, that seems kind of weird. You want to be able to know when to ignore your technical analysis. Why do I say that? Well, the reason I say that is because much of the technical analysis at the moment, many of the indicators, we got the stochastic RSI on the weekly chart, we got the MACD on the daily chart, we got several levels of resistance that Bitcoin has now actually broken through. We've got all kinds of technical indicators we have that I haven't discussed in this video or other ones recently. We have the chart from 2015 that we could look at and look at how Bitcoin followed that chart in 2015 and then extrapolate what Bitcoin should do now. There's many signs that a Bitcoin downtrend should form, but you have to keep in mind that those are technical signs, and technical signs are only going to be powerful if people are paying attention to them. And that's the really awesome thing about technical analysis, is that sometimes it will get ignored if people ignore the technical analysis. That's why I don't do technical analysis very often on the 3 hourly chart or the 3 daily chart or the 7-minute chart, because no one's going to be looking at those charts. Some people look at the 3 daily chart. Perhaps I shouldn't say that about the 3 daily, but perhaps what you're going to find is that many people won't be looking at those charts, and when they're not looking at those charts, the technical signals that show up on them are not going to be as important to as many buyers or sellers, and therefore they're not going to use those signals to make trades in the market. So even though there's many different indicators saying that Bitcoin should go to the downside, most people seem to be ignoring them and buying Bitcoin anyway because they know that a Bitcoin bull market is coming this year, so why not buy up some Bitcoin right now? And that's a major driving force that clearly I underestimated. Lesson learned. We can move on from there. Hopefully you guys learn that lesson along with me, because sometimes you do have to ignore the technical analysis. That's a video that's going to be going up in the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy in the future, especially after something like this. So with that all out of the way, important stuff, but let's go ahead and get on into the technical analysis. Where is Bitcoin headed from here? Well, guys, I do want to go over some of the confirmations of a Bitcoin bull market that we've already seen that I was saying had to do with the first rally before the bull market actually started. I think it's more likely than not at this point, following this crazy rally right here, that Bitcoin does actually start a bull market up here sometime in May. There's still that chance in the back of my mind, based on the technicals, that Bitcoin does fall over, and then we have a rally for a bull market. But at this point, considering what Bitcoin just did, the show of strength from the bulls, it would not surprise me in the slightest if a bull market did start here relatively soon. And the reason for that has to do with what I've talked about in many videos, and that is the kind of clairvoyance that you see after a level of support or resistance is broken. We saw Bitcoin break this level of resistance at $5,200, and literally about an hour before we broke out of it, I recorded a video. And if you go back to the 30th of April and you watch that video, I talked about in that video, if or / when Bitcoin breaks bullish above this level of resistance, how far it runs will tell us how strong the bulls are. Because when you break a level of support or resistance, what you find is that the bulls, in this case, are going to run for a little while. Maybe they'll run $50, maybe they'll run $100, maybe they'll run $800. Depending on how far they run, you will be able to tell how strong they are, because the bears are still in the market. They haven't gone anywhere. They're just clearly much weaker now, considering what Bitcoin has just done. And that's a very important concept, is understanding how strong the bulls are and how strong the bears are. That's why we have a video on that in the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy, and this is one of the ways that you can determine that based on how the market moves following a breakout. So that's one of the things I want to point out. The next major thing that I wanted to point out actually has to do with a daily cross on the on the 50 and the 200. This is a golden cross. Bitcoin saw this golden cross a couple days ago, and if you're wondering why this price action isn't showing up, the Brave New Coin Liquid Index for Bitcoin, the oldest chart that compiles price action on Bitcoin, is always lags 1 day behind. So what's happened in the last 24 hours has not shown up on this chart yet, but it will tomorrow. But anyway, on this chart, we can see that Bitcoin has recently had a golden cross. And indeed, the last time that Bitcoin saw a golden cross was the beginning of the last bull market, the 2016-17 bull market. Now, I've been saying for a while that perhaps we're right here. It doesn't necessarily seem like that anymore. Perhaps we are right here, and perhaps we are just at the beginning of a bull market. This kind of parabolic run that we saw in September, October, and November of 2015 is starting to look like what we're seeing right now. Bitcoin just rallying, and not seeming to slow down for anybody. Moving straight up towards $6,000, straight up towards important resistance, and then perhaps breaking it in the future. This is a technical confirmation of a bull market, and one that you need to keep an eye on. This is always going to be a powerful indicator, no matter what you say, no matter where it shows up. Not always, perhaps I shouldn't say always. Sometimes it will give you false signals, but almost always, a golden cross on the daily chart is an important sign that you want to look out for. One more thing that I want to bring up actually has to do with the daily MACD, and that would be the fact that the daily MACD is sitting ridiculously far above the zero level. We're sitting 160 points above the zero level. We haven't even been that high ever since July of 2018. And guys, Bitcoin's MACD is about to cross bullish up here. That's insane. Normally, you're not going to see a cross bullish this high simply because we're so far above the zero level, and I'm not going to get into how MACD is calculated right now, but normally MACD would want to come back down to zero and then maybe have some kind of bullish cross down there. But the fact that Bitcoin has rallied so powerfully here over these last couple of days, it looks like we may about to see a MACD cross up here around 160 and actually see the MACD start moving to the upside in a bullish manner again. So like I said a little while ago in the video, we were seeing very major bearish MACD coming from the daily chart. But that's actually seeming to subside. You can see down here in the histogram, the MACD line, the signal line have been getting closer and closer and closer, and I would expect a cross on that in the next day, more than likely tomorrow, the 4th of May. May the 4th, actually. May the 4th be with you. Either way, we want to keep going here. One of the next things I want to talk about is $6,000 itself. We're going to go ahead out to the 4-hourly chart. And I want to talk about $6,000 because, as you guys know, actually I'm going to go to the daily chart. As you guys know, $6,000 is a very important level for Bitcoin. Bitcoin has come down and tested this level time and time again. Down here in February the 6th, I remember that vividly. Back in the beginning of April, I remember that. Back in the late part of June, I remember that. The late part, mid part of August, all the way down through here through September, October, and November, Bitcoin was testing $6,000. $6,000, I don't think it's irresponsible to say, is the most important support and resistance level that Bitcoin has ever seen. At least in the last several years, certainly ever since Bitcoin hit $20,000, it is by far and away the most significant level of support and resistance that Bitcoin has seen. And Bitcoin is getting very close to it again. Bitcoin crashed below it in a spectacular manner over here in November and all the way into December. Bitcoin crashed nearly 50%, actually more than 50% if you measure it from the top of this rally all the way down to the bottom of the downtrend. Bitcoin had a gigantic crash. And from there, Bitcoin has been, in general, trending to the upside. We've basically been in a rally except for a little bit of downtrend here in December and January. But Bitcoin's basically been in a rally ever since then, and we're actually getting close to $6,000 again. So what's going to happen when we get to $6,000, and why is that such an important level? Well, there's a plethora of reasons for that, but I want to start off with saying that $6,000, like I said, is the most important level of support and resistance that Bitcoin has seen in a long time, and the fact of that means that when or if Bitcoin does come up here, if Bitcoin can come all the way to $6,000, I would be a little surprised if Bitcoin was able to just blast straight through it. Because even though many people are buying Bitcoin right now for the long term, they're investing in Bitcoin, they're hoping for a bull market so that they can make ridiculous returns. And I do think those ridiculous returns are coming. I still think that there's also going to be a lot of swing traders and day traders waiting for Bitcoin to come up to $6,000, and that's where they're going to have their sell orders. They're going to sell at $6,000, and then after Bitcoin breaks out of $6,000 and a bull market is confirmed, they're going to buy back in, and then we're going to go in the bull market. But until that happens, I think a lot of people that are smart with their trading are going to have a level of a sell order right up here just below $6,000. That would be the smart thing to do. That is how you're supposed to trade. You're supposed to put a sell order right below a major level of resistance that you think the market is going to stop at. It would not surprise me at all if we did get a ton of resistance at $6,000. But guys, we're basically looking at a war between two factions here. We're looking at a war, between three factions. We're looking at a war between the bears, who are never going to believe Bitcoin is going to do anything, and they're always trying to sell. There aren't many of those left. What the major battle is between long-term buyers who are trying to fill up their bags, like me, for example, who are buying as much Bitcoin sub 6,000 as they possibly can get their grubby little hands on. We have a war between us, me included, and the people who are swing trading, and I'm not doing a ton of swing trading right now, I'm mostly investing, and we have a war between the swing traders who are going to have levels of resistance, sell orders right up here. Because the people who have sell orders right up here, the swing traders, those are the people that are going to be taking short-term profits. Maybe they have a crazy amount of leverage going on Bitfinex or BitMEX, and they don't want to wait, and they don't want to wait to close that position. Perhaps they want to get out of it with as much profit as they can. They want to sell some of their Bitcoin. So we have a war between the people who are trying to buy Bitcoin for the long term, move it to the upside, and people who are trying to sell Bitcoin for the short term because they want to take profits and then buy back in later. That is what we're looking at right now, and I think that's going to be a very important way to look at the market coming into these next couple of days as we approach $6,000. Because at this point, we're so close to $6,000, it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if Bitcoin did come straight up to it. That being said, whether or not we break it immediately is to be determined, and I would be very surprised if we just blasted straight through it. It's happened before. Bitcoin is one of those things that you can do as much technical analysis on it as you want. 99% of the time, that technical analysis, if you do it correctly, is going to tell you exactly what the market's going to do, or at least close to what the market's going to do before it does it. But that 1% of the time, Bitcoin does something hog wild. It goes absolutely crazy, and this is one of those scenarios where it's more likely that something like that can happen. You have to be careful about when the hype is really, really strong in Bitcoin, because technicals will be ignored, and certainly levels of support and resistance fall into the category of technical. So sometimes they will be ignored. I would not be surprised if Bitcoin blasted straight through $6,000, but it would be irresponsible of me to call that happening, and it would be irresponsible of me to put trades in based off of that, because the technical analysis is showing that $6,000 is going to stop us out for a little while, and then we'll actually go up through it. So guys, I really don't want to overhype you when I say this, but based on the way Bitcoin has moved in the last day or two, it does seem to me that instead of what I talked about in many videos of a new downtrend forming based on what happened in 2015, that there's a pretty good chance that a Bitcoin bull market could be starting here in the next couple of weeks. Perhaps this week, perhaps by the end of May, we'll see. There's a pretty good chance that it happens before the end of May. And by the way, guys, the end of May is only right here. That's not very far away. We're going to see what happens. I think Bitcoin at this point is going to run all the way to $6,000, because a lot of times what you'll find is that strong levels of support and resistance have a bit of a magnetism to it, a bit of a gravitational pull. They'll pull you in, and then you'll find out whether or not you get rejected off of them. Normally, you won't go close to them and then not go all the way to them. Normally, you're going to see people buying right now and waiting for Bitcoin to go to $6,000 and pocket that 3% difference. That's where that kind of magnetism comes from. But either way, there is a pretty good chance that a bull market starts right now, guys. I want you to be very careful with me saying that, though, because just because there's a decent chance that a bull market starts, and just because this chart, this daily chart zoomed out all the way here, is looking sexier and sexier by the day, even though all of that is very much true, you have to be careful. Because it's in times like these where you think you can make the most money that you will often find that you will lose the most. Because if you let your emotions control you, and if you let your hopes and desires about what the market will do and what you'll do with all the money that you're going to make, if you let that control you rather than your logic and your ability to analyze the chart, if you don't do this properly, you will lose, and it will hurt. I promise you guys. I was back in the market during 2017. I wasn't back in the market during 2015. I wasn't in crypto yet, but during 2017, I got into the market over here. I saw this entire part of the bull market. It was fantastic. We're going to see that same kind of thing happen soon. It was absolutely phenomenal. People were making 50% profits a day sometimes. People were making ridiculous amounts of money. They were popping champagne corks. Buying Lamborghinis. They were sitting on their beachfront properties with their 15 cars because they're all rock stars. That's the one I was trying to think of. But either way, what you have to remember also is that even though people were having a lot of fun back here, myself included, Bitcoin eventually will get stopped out. Eventually, Bitcoin will stop running. Eventually, Bitcoin will reverse. So even though we're about to have a whole lot of fun in a Bitcoin bull market, don't let it go to your head. Don't let your judgment get clouded by what you want. Don't let your judgment get clouded by greed. Or also, when we start going down, fear. Be very careful about how you approach the market. Approach it as logically as you possibly can. Detach your emotions from it. And only then will you be successful in the market and will you have the most fun in it, ironically enough. So guys, there is a good chance that a bull market is starting, but be very careful because a lot of times when you see the market doing crazy things like it's doing right now, these are the times when it will surprise you. So guys, that's what I wanted to discuss in today's video. I wanted to bring to your attention exactly what's going on and remind you that a bull market is coming. I've been saying for over a year that even though we're in a bear market, even though Bitcoin's moving to the downside, even though all seems lost, even though it seems like Bitcoin is dying, I'm talking about what I was saying back here in 2018. I've been saying for over a year, Bitcoin is going to go into a bull market again. It is going to happen almost beyond a shadow of a doubt. You can never predict something like that for 100%, but 99.999% likely that Bitcoin is going to go into another Bitcoin bull market. It's going to happen. We're going to see another major run-up like we did in 2017. Unless something comes straight out of left field, unless something crazy happens, we're going to see another bull market. I've been saying that for a long time. I've been here in the space making videos every month or so saying, guys, if you feel like leaving the market, you're making a mistake. You can go back on the channel. You can see probably a half a dozen to a dozen videos I've done like that saying, if you want to leave Bitcoin, here's why you shouldn't. Go back and watch those videos. I was saying Bitcoin is going to enter a bull market. It is going to do it eventually. You just have to be patient. You just have to be patient. And now our patience is paying off. So if you guys have been here with me all the way through this bear market, which I am now happy to say I believe is well and truly over. We'll have confirmation of that in the next couple of weeks, I hope. If you've been with this market all the way since the beginning of the bear market, all the way through, all the way to where we are now, if you've been in the market since at least the beginning of 2018, I would like to present to you a medal of having balls of steel. I've used that phrase a couple of times because we've stuck through it. We've done it together, guys. I started the YouTube channel right back over here. This YouTube channel has basically only operated during the bear market, and I am very much looking forward to what we can achieve during the bull market. Guys, it's going to be a lot of fun. So anyway, guys, that is going to do it for today's video. I'm rambling because I'm having a lot of fun. Either way, like I said, we're going to wrap it up. If you guys did enjoy today's video, definitely consider dropping a like and hitting that subscribe button. And before we wrap the video up also, make sure you go buy some Bitcoin. I didn't say that for the record, but you know what? I did. I guess I'll break some rules now. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Guys, I do want to thank each and every single one of you for watching as always, and I will see you guys after the bull market starts. Peace.